not paying attention at that moment, and then all of a sudden it strikes them.
Tonight on Fox 24 News at 9, hear from some of the brave crossing guards in our area working to keep our kids safe while walking through potentially dangerous crosswalks. Plus, the U.S. is seeing a surge in the number of COVID-19 cases. Hear what medical experts say will help keep you healthy and avoid a trip to the doctor. And
where my presence would be a spoiler, I'm going to remove my name.
Third-party candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is suspending his run for president. Find out who he's endorsing for the big ticket as your News at 9 starts right now. The video.
Taking you further. This is Fox 24 News at 9.
Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us tonight at 9. I'm Anna Darling. A school in Springdale typically doesn't roll buses, leaving students to walk or get rides to school from their parents. And that has increased safety concerns along crosswalks right in front of Westwood Elementary School. Fox 24's Casey Smith reports on the work underway to keep those students safe.
Every afternoon at 3:10 p.m., hundreds of Westwood Elementary students in Springdale flood the streets on foot, and reckless driving can put their safety at risk.
Some drivers are not aware that they're actually in a school zone. They might have never taken this route before. They're unaware, they're not paying attention at that moment, and then all of a sudden it strikes them. They're seeing kids, and then they all of a sudden try to slow down.
Westwood is one of the few schools in Northwest Arkansas in the River Valley that has students who exclusively either walk to school or are dropped off by parents. There are no buses, so safety is at a premium when the school's 2 crosswalks are active.
Small children, sometimes they don't make the best decisions, so they're accompanied with parents. But when they're not, they know they have to be guided through a crosswalk.
Westwood's vice principal helps students cross one crosswalk in the mornings, and parent volunteer Terry Morrison has been in charge of the other in the afternoons for the past 3 years. Ranger Malloy is a commissioned school security officer at Westwood, and he says drivers should remain aware that they are in a school zone and stay patient.
Paying attention to everybody around you, not only the cars, but the children coming up through the crosswalk.
But concerns aren't limited to the grade school level.
Crosswalks are another thing that we really take very seriously, and we want folks to slow down and pay attention to the crosswalk areas. Make eye contact with the pedestrians just like they should with the drivers.
And the lesson the kids get at the end of each school day?
Just about road safety, being aware, looking both ways, all the things, and just being aware of your surroundings.
Is one that will stick with them beyond their years at Westwood.
That was our Casey Smith reporting. 2 junior high schools in Fayetteville are getting new buildings, and the district said it will keep the buildings' existing names. The district voted last night to build a new Ramey Junior High and Woodland Junior High schools.
The main reason behind that, through discussion, was just the proud traditions that both have established, and just recognizing that work and maintaining that tradition moving forward.
We're told the current Woodland Junior High will be converted to a middle school, and that a plan for Ramey has yet to be decided, but will likely use it in some way at the high school level. The Pea Ridge Police Department is reminding drivers to remember the law when on the road with school buses. Drivers must stop at least 30 feet away from a bus that is loading or unloading passengers. On a 2-lane road, both directions of traffic must come to a complete stop, and drivers must stay stopped until the bus's stop sign completely closes and the lights are off. Violations to any of these safety measures can result in a number of fines or punishments. One of those includes a fine of $250 up to $1,000, a suspension of your driver's license for 21 days to a full year, and up to 400 hours of community service. Parking is a big issue for Fayetteville High School students who drive to school. The district has a proposed building a parking garage to alleviate this, but the plan is facing some obstacles. We'll have this story coming up at 9:30, so make sure you stay tuned to the newscast. The Siloam Springs community is celebrating the back-to-school season at this month's 4th Friday festivities. Tonight's back-to-school bash featured everything from water slides, concerts, and food to kid entrepreneurs selling their goods. We caught up with one of those entrepreneurs, Riley McGee, who runs a small business with her parents. They sell fidgets that are made with their 3D printers. One of those fidgets recently went into outer space.
There's this girl named Kelly Galati. She's an astronaut, and she bought one of our octopuses from a store and took it to space.
That is so cool. Awesome job, Riley, on making such a cool product. Kelly and her octopus flew with Virgin Galactic to perform healthcare and thermodynamic fluid experiments on behalf of the International Institute for Aeronautical Sciences. Now, tonight's Back to School Bash wrapped up the 2024 season in Siloam Springs. Fourth Friday will return again next May. As summer winds down and students head back to school, new data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention shows COVID-19 cases are on the rise in 25 states. Public health officials say the surge is due in part to a family of variants known as the flirt variants. On Thursday, the FDA approved updated COVID-19 boosters from Moderna and Pfizer. Those are expected to become available next month, but demand for the shots has been low. As of May, CDC data shows only 22% of adults received the vaccine booster that came out last September.
Vaccines reduce your risk of having to go to the ER, reduces your risk significantly of having to get hospitalized and death.
A new study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association finds long COVID affects children and teens differently than adults. Younger children are more likely to face stomach pain and trouble focusing, while teens typically experience fatigue and loss of smell or taste. Now, the CDC is spending millions of dollars to help farm workers get their flu shots and hopefully prevent the spread of bird flu. Dairy and poultry farmers across the U.S. are dealing with outbreaks in bird flu. 13 workers have picked up infections so far. The CDC announced in July it will spend $5 million to buy seasonal flu shots for livestock workers this fall, and it will spend another $5 million to promote getting this year's vaccine. FOX24 is your local election headquarters. Preparations are underway in Benton County for the upcoming November election. Today, the Benton County Election Commission approved early voting and Election Day voting locations. There was only one minor change. It also decided today in what order the candidates will be listed on the ballot. Election coordinator Kim Dennison says today is just a piece of the bigger puzzle for election preparations.
We'll be starting poll worker training before long, and right after that we'll go into our logic and accuracy testing, where we test all 500 pieces of equipment, making sure that everything is working properly before it goes out to the polling sites.
And here's the details on the change they did make to one voting location. Voting that used to take place at the Walmart Amp has now been moved to First Baptist Church in Rogers. Voters in Highfill will have the chance to change its term lengths for city council members on the November ballot. According to an ordinance passed by the city council last week, the first city council member in a ward will be elected to a 4-year term, and the second ward representative will be elected to a 2-year term initially. That second city council member will serve a 2-year term first to make sure the two council positions stagger in election cycles. After that, they will serve 4-year terms. A candidate can serve as many terms as they'd like if elected, and if passed, this measure would begin during the 2026 election cycle. In case you missed it, buying alcohol on Sundays in Siloam Springs is one step closer to becoming law. Last night, the Benton County Quorum Court approved a resolution allowing a ballot initiative for Sunday alcohol sales in Siloam Springs to appear on the November ballot. This comes after the Committee of the Whole recommended the resolution to the court on August 14th. And don't forget, Fayetteville residents will also get a vote on Sunday alcohol sales this November after the Fayetteville City Council approved it for the November ballot back in July. Independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced today that he will suspend his presidential campaign, and he plans to endorse former President Donald Trump. Fox 24's Vinay Simlot reports.
The leading third-party candidate in this presidential race announced he's suspending his campaign.
Oh, I want everyone to know that I am not terminating my campaign. I am simply suspending it.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says his name will remain on the ballot in most states.
In about 10 battleground states where my presence would be a spoiler, I'm going to remove my name.
Kennedy, angry with the Democratic Party, threw his support behind former President Donald Trump.
I want to thank Bobby. That was very nice. That was really very nice.
That's big. He's a great guy, respected by everybody.
RFK Jr.'s exit sets up a two-candidate race with 74 days until the election.
This election has a precious, fleeting opportunity.
Vice President Kamala Harris formally accepted the Democratic Party's nomination on Thursday night. During her speech, Trump attacked Harris on his Truth Social platform, posting, "All talk, no action. She is a radical Marxist." And is she talking about me? For a portion of her speech on Thursday night, Harris did.
But the consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious.
That was Vinay Simlot reporting. We're less than 2 months away from early voting kicking off in Arkansas. Sunday, October 6th is the deadline to register to vote if you want to cast a ballot in the November election. Early voting starts on October 21st and goes until the Monday before Election Day, which is happening on Tuesday, November 5th. If you plan to vote absentee, you have to deliver your ballot to the county clerk in person by the close of business on Friday, November 1st. If you are mailing it in, the ballot must be received by the clerk's office by 7:30 p.m. on Election Day. In economic news, the combined sales tax revenue in Bentonville, Fayetteville, Rogers, and Springdale totaled nearly $10 million in June. Here's a look at the year-to-date numbers for those cities. All cities were up year to year except for Bentonville. That city was down 13% from last year. Fayetteville is about even with last year's report, sitting at around $21 million. Rogers had a 7% increase, earning more than $20 million so far this year, and Springdale ticked up 3% with more than $16 million. Benton County released a sales tax update for August, which accounts for all merchant sales during the month of June. According to the county, sales tax received was a little more than $1.23 million, which is 1.89% higher than the amount received in the previous year. However, the county says this number is below its targeted budget for the year. 66.67% of the county's targeted income is accounted for in sales tax. However, it's only received 62.81% so far. The investigation into the assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump continues. Find out what's happened to some of the Secret Service members who were tasked with keeping him safe that day. Plus, you might see some delays in your mail delivery in the future. We'll tell you why USPS is having to make this warning coming up later in the show. But first, let's get a first look at our forecast with meteorologist Zach Gilday. Zach, I was out there earlier today on the Razorback Greenway. I saw lots of people enjoying the evening tonight, but it was a bit sweaty, I will say.
Yeah, this morning it was nice and cool, but then that humidity that did build back in, and right now it's a whole lot warmer than what we saw last night, and tomorrow that heat is definitely back in the forecast, and there is still some question on whether or not we will see storms tomorrow. I will break that down coming right up in the full Fox 20 forecast.